Hello, hello, hello. Good evening.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
New day, new time.
Like to welcome you all today to our discussion we're going to have today. We're going to be talking about debunking the myths about LGBTQ people, things you shouldn't say or ask.
Yes.
All right. So these are things that could be offensive. These are things that can be discouraging to anyone in the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
So we're going to go over a few things. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to like, share,
yes,
to get people to join a question. Give us some love.
Ask questions.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Have you ever thought, like, is it okay to say this? Or is it not okay to say this? This is the time to be like, can I say this? And there will be no one here judging you.
Exactly.
Also, my friends that are in the community, in the family, please put some stuff up that we might miss. So just so we're all on the same page, we're talking about LGBTQ. So people that are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, and all in that spectrum, right? So thinking about that. So hopefully you're familiar with the terms, and we're excited to talk about all of the letters, but particularly, of course, we can talk the most about our experiences as lesbian or gay women. I identify as queer, so maybe as a queer woman, and so people can get a better understanding of the things that we experience. And then we did do some research and have also great friends and experience things that they have experienced. So
yes,
I guess I would say, I have a short question for you first. So what do you think is one assumption or myth people make about you?
So I think one of the biggest myths about me is because I am masculine presenting, they always say, so I'm trying to think what's the best way to say it. So I think people automatically assume that because I'm masculine presenting that I don't I'm trying to find the best way to say it. I guess it's because I'm masculine presenting, they assume that I don't like my women or my feminine bodily parts.
Yes.
So they're always like, you know, about my hips or breasts or something, and I'm like, no, like I love all my bodily parts.
Right.
I think one of the other things I get too when I was younger was, you're too pretty to be gay.
Oh gosh. Yes.
That was a big one I used to get when I was in my 20s was, you're so pretty. You're too pretty to be gay. And I didn't quite understand what that means.
So you have to be ugly to be gay? Question mark, right?
Yeah.
So some things that people say really are pretty much like slight, disrespectful type of disguise, but supposedly compliment. So in turn, it's funny that you say that. So if I was to answer that question, the two top things people say to me are, you don't look like a lesbian. Mm-hmm. And usually because I'm dressed very feminine, and of course, like wearing a dress equals that you can't be a lesbian. Ha ha ha. So most of the time when I do presentations, I basically play a joke on my audience, and they all think I'm straight. And because being a woman and wearing a dress equals you being straight. And so really important to think about the things that you say. And then on the contrary, I remember when I first started dating women back, I guess 13 years ago now. You're 40 though, so stop it.
40 and fabulous.
When I first started dating women, people would say, why do you want to date women who dress like a man, right? And I would say this, so if you're straight, so say a straight woman is asking me, why do I want to date a woman that dresses like a man? I was like, well, you like men, right? So you could date a woman who dresses like a man. And she would be like, no. And I would be like, duh, makes sense, right? So I date women who present masculine or a masculine centered, basically wear men's clothes, but they are a woman. They like their womanly body parts. They got all of the situations going on, and they are a woman. And the swag that they actually dress like a man or may wear men's clothes turns me on. It's what I like. And it would be anyone who dates masculine presenting men. So it's for anyone out there that's confused. If you're in love or love a certain gender, it doesn't matter what clothes they wear on the outside as long as on the inside they're who you want them to be.
Exactly.
Is that good?
Oh, that's good. Exactly.
Okay. So let's start at the L. So we have some things, but another question I know we've been asked together, and maybe people have been thinking it, is who's the man in the relationship?
Yeah.
So for your folks out there who have lesbian friends, i.e. us or anyone else, please don't ask who's the man in the relationship. Yeah. What would you say to someone like, so who's the man in your relationship?
We're both women. There is no man in a relationship.
That's the point, right? So go ahead.
If you're talking about like who does the manly roles, or who's the man who's doing what men would do in sex or whatever, because in terms of like manly household things, we both take out the trash. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I forget, sometimes you do it. So we don't really get caught up in a whole bunch of roles. If it's snowing outside,
we both shovel.
We both shovel.
We both do a little bit of everything. I mean, I do more of the cooking, just because
she's a better cook.
Yes, breakfast all day, dinner,
breakfast cookers.
But we do it all. So there's not a man in a relationship, and that can go the same for gay men as well. A lot of times in any gay relationship where there's two of the same genders, people want to know, well, who's the blank? There's not a blank. The whole point of it is that we are who we are, and our relationships are very similar to straight folks. Like when people hang around us, they're like, y'all are just like normal straight folks.
Or y'all have some of the same issues we have.
Right. Yeah. We go through all the same stuff y'all go to, right? So thinking about that. So that was one.
Yes.
And then I think we're going to skip that one. Let's skip that one because the sex question, we're going to get there. So stay with us because it's going to get fun. So what happened to you as a child, right? So most people, I think, have a stereotypical belief that if a person is gay, so because I like women, then something happened to me as a child as a result.
So, and just to go into that a little bit further, is people are, assuming that you've been molested, touched inappropriately, raped, something has happened to you as a child with the opposite gender, which have basically caused you to be turned off by that opposite gender because that has happened. So we're not speaking for everyone because everyone has their own experience. So I would just say, for me, I've never experienced anything as a child that has, quote unquote, led me to being a lesbian. I was never touched inappropriate by men. I wasn't a woman who men treated bad. I didn't have any bad experience with men. I actually, unfortunately, when I dated men, I broke more hearts than, I did. So it's like, that's inappropriate to assume what happened to you as a child. And during our coming out messages, I don't know if I mentioned that, but one of my siblings asked me that very same question, and they thought something happened and I didn't share it with them, that something happened as a child and this is the result. So my thing is, don't assume that that's the conclusion for everybody. As they say, don't paint with a wide brush. Don't assume everyone has had that experience.
Don't paint with a wide brush. Yes. Thank you, babe. I think that was a great response. We do have a comment, Che. Hopefully it's Che. Stay with me because, I want to answer that question, but I want us to do a couple of more of these myths, and then I want to answer your question about education in elementary school because I'm doing work with elementary school teachers, and I would love to answer your question. So something Short brought up that was important as well. So nothing had to happen to a person for them to be gay. That's it. So if someone comes out to you as gay, don't automatically think like, what made you gay? It's not charging. Can you grab the cord? Sorry. Technical difficulties. Gotta make sure the computer is charging. So one, nothing had to happen to you for you to be gay. And two, just because you're gay, specifically if you are a woman who is gay or a man who is gay, it doesn't mean that you've never dated the opposite sex. So I don't know if y'all just heard Shura, but she said she dated men.
I dated men.
And one would be like, she never dated men. So there's lots of terminology and slang and lingo for women who have never dated or had sex with a man. But you'd be surprised how many lesbians or gay women have actually dated men, and how many gay men have actually maybe dated women, right? And what that means, and if you're close enough to a person to have a conversation with them, you can. But most people who know me, who have known me for a long time, I didn't come out until I was 25, and I started dating when I was 14. So I dated men for about 11 years. And a lot of people have questions about that, even down to asking if Avery was conceived from a same gender relationship or what. And so those are questions that, of course, you can ask if you have a relationship with someone, but it's not something you should be asking a complete stranger. But believe that women or men who are gay could have dated the opposite gender at some point in their lives. And just because they're gay does not mean, which is why I don't identify as lesbian anymore, that we can't look at men, me as a lesbian queer woman, I can't look at a man and be like, he's hot. I dated men for 10 years. Like, my eyes still work. I like high heels, but I don't wear them. I admire them. And so I still have the ability to see attraction in all people. I just choose to love and spend my life with this woman. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. So I think those are important tips and myths that are important. That's good.
Cool, that's good. Let's go to, I think this is a good question.
Okay. So let's answer the question. So in case some people said they can't read the comments. So Che shared, I have a son in the 3rd grade. Should teachers be teaching the lifestyle to elementary students? Our Board of Education passed an LGBT school resolution. Now it's going in the curriculum. How do y'all feel about private activity becoming so public? I have LGBT in my family, although I'm a straight male. All right, so this is how I address this. So I'm actually contracting right now with the elementary school, and I have been since last August, and it's been pretty amazing. The one thing I want to talk about in your comment, Che, is that it's not a lifestyle. So being LGBT is not a lifestyle, it's who we are. And so when people say your lifestyle, for me, that's actually hurtful and problematic, because it's not a lifestyle, it's an identity, it's who we are. That would be number one. And then number two, when you're talking about elementary students and LGBT issues, you have to make it developmentally appropriate. So I'm not teaching teachers to explain what it means to be gay to a 1st grader. What we're teaching elementary students is about love, which doesn't always have to be a man or a woman. Love could be whoever you love. About families, and families don't always equal a mom, a dad, and a child. And about respect, respecting difference and respecting everyone for who they are. That's people with disabilities. That's people who have different hair colors, different eye colors, maybe other type of physical disabilities. So when I go in and I train elementary teachers, I'm training them about teaching their students about love, respect, and family, and about difference. So that if their friend Bobby says, I have 2 dads, they're not like, ew, 2 dads, that's not right. Like, you should have a mom, right? And if their friend Jane, happens to be a girl who has short hair and likes to wear boy-looking clothes, that they're not like, you're not a girl because you have short hair. Right? And so I think that it's really important to think about the premise of what we're teaching kids. But if we start at an elementary level, really breaking down what this world sees as normal, think about where our kids could be by the time they get to high school. And it's literally about that this does not equal boy, this does not equal girl, and that families and love can look very different. And that's all we're teaching them. And it's been super amazing to help teachers on that journey, because people get really tense when I say that I'm going to elementary school to talk about LGBT stuff. We're not talking about sex, and that's the biggest thing. We're not talking about being gay, but you will all be surprised if anyone works with children or have children. Your children are talking about what it means to be gay as early as 5 years old. Yes. Kids are talking about it. You know who's afraid to talk about it? The adults. So if you're not talking about it with your kids are talking about it with their friends. And so it's really important to talk to your kids about what does it mean to be gay? What does different family structure look like? And I think, and that's where I'll leave that, because that is deep. It's really deeper than what I can explain in this live video. You want to add, like,
I was going to say, it was a Che, I think.
Shay.
Shay, I think if we're saying it wrong, I definitely apologize. But Shay, inbox us, inbox Anissa, because I think if this is part of the curriculum, I would, I think it's highly recommended that if it's in the curriculum, how is it working out? And, is there any way that possibly Anissa can help you or help you the teachers at your school on, just making sure the boundaries are in place. It's one thing to write a curriculum and give it to a person that here teach it.
The teachers have to be comfortable with it. And 9 out of 10 elementary teachers are uncomfortable with talking about anything LGBT. I actually go as far as I have books that I use for lessons, and I teach teachers how to use a book to teach their kids. So one book recommendation is called Jacob's New Dress for elementary age kids, and it's about a little boy who likes to wear a dress to school, which is pretty amazing. Also, I Am Jazz, which is an elementary level book that is about a transgender girl, and it explains it in the most unique way. So if you need any recommendations, I recommend these for parents to talk to your kids at home about all types of different diversity issues. There are books for everything, but we're focusing on being LGBT. So if you want any recommendations for all age level books, that is pretty much what I do. And so please contact me. I have lots of recommendations. So we want to go back to the myths.
Yes, so thank you for being open and honest and asking the question, Chip.
Yes, he said his son likes girls. Great. And so that's what it's about. And if his son has a friend who actually says, like, I like boys, I just want your son to be like, cool, great, let's go find some. Okay, so some more myths about lesbians in particular. So women who love women, discounting your friend's partner. So for example, people like, you can bring your friend, like they refer to basically like your lesbian friend, you always refer to their partner as like a friend. No. If you know your friend is lesbian and you know that person that they're dating is more than just their friend, call them that. Use the word partner. Use the word significant other. For me, it's my fiance. I'm not showing up with my friend. I'm showing up with my fiance. I remember we was having an organic conversation at a friend's house, and someone was like, "Are y'all sisters?" I was like, "No, this is about to be my wife, boo."
Yeah.
Like, I don't play, So I know that it might seem unorganic to some people, but really give the respect to your friends, your lesbian and gay friends' partners, as you would do if they were straight.
And if you don't know what to say, I would say a safe word, maybe partner. If this person has introduced you to the person they're involved with, as girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, and you're not sure how to say it, you can say, would you like to bring your partner? I think partner is like safe. You're not crossing any lines. Would you like to bring your partner?
I say bae. Bae and boo are also gender neutral terms.
Yeah, everybody don't like that. But, I think, I don't think a guy want to be called a bae. I don't know. Maybe.
Do guys like to be called bae? Okay, moving on. All right. So a couple of other ones that are really important. People have told me you just haven't met the right guy yet.
Yes.
Let me tell you this. If you know me, I'll try to keep it a little bit, maybe PG-13. I've had it, okay, for 10 years plus, and I don't need to reach the right guy because it's about what I feel in my heart, and my heart pulls me towards same gender folks and this amazing woman right here. So basically saying that a woman or a man hasn't met the right person yet of the opposite gender, or that you can change them back. I don't know if you heard that, but people always say, like, I can make you straight again. You just need to get with me for one night. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I definitely got that. I would say in my 20s and early 30s, guys would be like, you just didn't get a chance to get with me. If you would have met me first, you wouldn't have been attracted to women. I mean, even I would say, yeah, seriously.
You must not know about me.
So even funny, like even, I don't know, like to be transparent, like my mother, she prayed for a long time that I find a husband. And I think she finally got to the point, maybe in my 30s, and this was 20 years in, about 10 years, and about 10 or 15 years in, and my mother was still saying, I'm praying for your husband. And I'm like, all right, if that's what you choose to do, but
yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, and you can call, so our friend Maddie calls her husband Zaddy. Hey, Zaddy. So just putting it out there. So whatever it is you call the person, just acknowledge who they are and don't try to push them out. Another thing is basically when you know your friend is gay or someone comes out to you as gay, you be like, oh, I have a gay friend, I should hook you up. Don't do that. So just because you have a gay friend doesn't mean that we want your gay friend. Yeah. Also, just because the person comes out to you as gay, whether it's a man or a woman or other, right, doesn't mean that we're looking at you. So like, yes. You can be gay, girl. Don't look at me like that.
You're not my type.
First of all, number one, we have standards, boo-boo. I tell people all the time, don't play yourself. So I'm in a sorority, and to be quite candid, people know when I first came out, I got texts, inboxes. People were like, have you ever looked at me like that? Like, I don't know how to feel around you now. Lots of uncomfortability with now me, Anissa, being gay, which was pretty interesting. And I had to play people like, I like women, but you're not even in that box.
So let's reiterate that question so that way we're clear. So a myth that when a person comes out and they're gay, either gender, and you're their friend, you've been their friend, and they're now attracted to that gender, it does not mean they were ever attracted to you in any way more than a platonic friend.
Baby, you made that sound so good. And to take it a step further, you can take your clothes off if we're undressing somewhere together. You don't have to be afraid to like get naked in front of your gay friend because you think your gay friend might look at you.
Yes. So just like
Let me
said,
tell you, all of us have parts. We've all seen parts. So I think people are transparent enough now to be like, you know, so just don't be cautious.
Be cautious. Don't assume.
I had a couple people that was just like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom and get dressed now because Anissa's gay.
Yeah, so it's just like in any other, you know, if you're attracted to men, you're not attracted to every two-legged man who walk by you.
Right. All right, so we're going to end the lesbian one. Oh, we said that too. So we're going to end the lesbian one with the mega $1 million question, which I've been asked by personal friends, and that's okay too. But I've also been asked by people that are not my personal friend, and they've asked how we have sex, or not how sure and I have sex. But if I'm a lesbian, how do I have sex? How do lesbians have sex?
Google it.
Yeah. Not to be smart, and if you don't have access to Google, let me help you out. But Google it, and just because you Googled it or you've watched it on some type of platform doesn't mean that's how I do it. So, you know, people have a myth of how we have sex, specifically lesbians, and they say, like, I don't understand, like, how you have sex because it lacks a penis. That means you basically says sex is nothing without a penis, and we disagree. So we're going to leave that right there for y'all. Yes. And if anybody wants to, you know.
So once again, this is a question you do not ask unless you have a very close relationship with this person. Right. Do not ask them, how do they have sex? It's offensive. It's inappropriate. Google it. Or if you have the relationship, have the conversation.
All right. So we're going to move on. So we're going to make sure we get through a couple of other letters, and we try to keep this to 30 minutes or less.
Make sure you're liking, sharing, show us some love, and add any questions that you have.
Like at Believe Out Word and on Instagram and Twitter too. We're not good with Twitter, but we're working on it. So for my gay men out there, and if any gay men are happy to be here, who knows, and you are out and you want to go in, you can. But it's a few articles, and I just know by having lots of gay male friends. So some of the funny, it gets funny with gay men, right? So you have gay male friends. So gay men will be like, we'll meet a woman and say they're gay. And they'll be like, well, look at my boobs. Tell me what you think. Like basically making a gay man look at your boobs says what, right? And so, or basically like, you're too masculine to be gay, right?
I've heard about that one.
Bad.
Don't ever say that. So we're talking about things to say and not say. So if you know a person who's a masculine man and he is gay, do not tell him he's too masculine to be gay. It's inappropriate and it's offensive.
And if he's masculine, maybe he's attractive. And another offensive thing to say is like such a waste of a fine man.
Yes, that is so wrong.
Because he's a fine man that's going to find another fine man, and he will be okay. So you're mad because you can't have him, but if he's gay, he don't want you. So I've heard that before. And oh yes. So basically, why do gay men have to wear makeup, right? So, or why do you have to be so gay, or like my brother would say, super gay,
super gay,
right? For gay men. So just talking about gay men. So I feel like some people are okay if a guy is gay, but then if they're like super gay,
right,
so they may like dress up, wear high heels or pocketbooks, and so their gender expression is definitely more on the feminine side of the spectrum, and people are uncomfortable with that. So they're more uncomfortable if a gay man looks like what? Like, what does a gay man even look like? Yeah. So number one, it's about people being comfortable with how they express themselves and who they are. And if you are not down with it and don't think it's cute, then you're not trying to date that person. So why would it matter? That's how I feel. Also, you were going to go back to the sex question. Asking, we already talked about this, but asking which one is the girl in a gay male relationship is definitely not good. As well as if a gay guy is into sports and you'll be like, oh my gosh, you're into sports? Or asking them to help you pick out clothes because you automatically assume because they're gay, they have a good fashion sense. So all gay men don't got a good fashion sense, but most of them do that I feel, which is great. A lot of them do, but it's still kind of inappropriate depending on your level of relationship with this person to be like, oh, can you help me pick out an outfit? Yeah. You know, making them that token gay friend, unless they are your gay friend, and that's good too. But having a token, let's talk about that. Like having a token gay friend or a token, that's like someone inviting you to the meeting because they need a black person, or someone inviting you to the meeting because they need a gay person, right? I just feel like being tokenized because of our identities is also not good too, or being able to be like, yeah, I have one gay friend.
Yeah, I was going to say that part. I think it's more so, I know for me when I meet people for the first time, it's like, oh yeah, my brother's cousin uncle, he's gay too. Mm-hmm. You know, and like you said, it's kind of like the thing, oh, I have another black friend, or I have a black friend. I'm not, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll start talking about racism and a white person will be like, I can't be racist, I got a black boyfriend. Didn't ask you that, right? So thinking about stuff that you say before you say it, and then going to the sex questions with gay men, which gets it back into that double standard thing. So I've heard a million times that being a lesbian is sexy, but being gay is not. And then people tend to make faces like ew, ow, and like, so isn't that painful? And number one, why are we talking about sex again with random people you don't know? And then lastly, asking gay men who's the top and who's the bottom. Definitely not a thing. So that is curiosity, right? Honestly, but it's really disrespectful. And I know if someone asked sure or not, and they probably wouldn't because thinking about us being lesbians, but that goes back into how we have sex. But for gay men, it's not always a top or a bottom. Actually, some might be both. And who knows? Like, and who cares? Because basically it's about respecting people's privacy, and you wouldn't ask straight folks how they have sex and who gets on top and who gets on the bottom. So don't do that to gay men. And if you think the way gay men may have sex is painful, keep it to yourself. Because some straight people like to have sex all kinds of ways.
Exactly.
So guess what? Sorry, we're catching up on the comments, which
give me a second. We kind of keep going.
Are weird. So I think that those are some things to think about. So definitely not trying to put people in a box when they come out to you as something, and knowing that gay men can be masculine. They don't always have to be effeminate, right? And that there's a spectrum of these things. And that actually women who love women can also identify as gay. Gay is an umbrella term, basically for anyone who is attracted, have romantic, emotional, or physical relationships with the same gender. Mm-hmm. Just so you know. So sometimes I just be like, I'm gay, because it's easier, right? And saying I'm queer is definitely like, why? Oh, we're missing some comments.
Oh, I'm getting there.
So I want to, was there any questions? Did anyone have questions? I
didn't see any questions.
All right, so if you have questions, just type them. Again, if we missed them, I'm going to get to the word queer. Great. Sure do straight people. I don't know what I said about straight people. Okay,
queer expo.
Okay, so that's fine. Sorry, we gotta catch you in the comments, but we want to be respectful of your time. So I wanted to spend a little time talking about bisexuality, which is the B. Shout out to the B. My bisexual folks out there. So bisexuality meaning the ability to be attracted to and have relationships with one or both of genders, either same or opposite gender. So thinking about that. So bisexuality is not a phase.
Yes.
It's not like I'm like halfway gay, which I've heard. So people identify as bisexual all their lives, right? Yes,
Some do.
Yes, could, meaning it is something that stays.
Yes.
Like it's not. Everyone believes that you're just bisexual until you really come out the closet, but you can't take it like that. If someone comes out to you as being bi and it is a phase that they're in until they figure out their identity, respect their identity and let them be bisexual if that's what they say they identify as. I know at a point I was like, maybe I'm bi, who knows? But I don't know, right? So thinking about the ability, and for bisexuals, if they're dating the same gender, that doesn't now make them lesbian or gay. They're still bisexual.
Yes.
Really important to think about. Another myth is that bisexuals are promiscuous and cheat more, and just fast in general. And I disagree with that. I think being bisexual means that you have the ability to be attracted to lots of different folks, right? And if you're at a party and it's not a lot of men or it's not a lot of women, you got the best of both worlds, because you're like, hey, you got my options open.
So we're debunking myths about anyone in the LGBTQ community, debunking myths. So now I see a lot of people just joined, so we're talking about people who are identified as bisexual right now.
Yes. Basically that they're just looking for sex. Going back, sorry, this made me think about something. Going back to lesbians, very important, and it usually comes from comments with men, some with women, but never be like, can I watch? Because I feel like I've come out to like different people and they're like, hey, ever want a threesome? Can I just watch? That's cute. You know,
yeah, that's
just inappropriate. Even if you're thinking you want to watch, I would say Pornhub.com, boom. But don't ask people, can you watch? Because you want to ask a straight couple if you could watch. So think about it. All right, sorry.
So wait, did she have another question? Transgender sports.
Yes, I can talk. Yes, I'm going to talk about transgender folks, and I'll mention sports when I get there for sure. And so back to bisexual. So just basically affirming bisexual people as well as bisexual men. So I'm here to highlight for bisexual men. I think a lot of times people will say that women can be bisexual, but men can't, because once a man has sex with another man, then they're just gay and there's no coming back. And that's not true, because if a woman has sex with a woman and she can come back and be whatever she wants to be, straight or bisexual, then why is it different from men? So really thinking about how we view bisexuality, the double standard we use, and allowing people to really identify as that, and that bisexuality exists. There's actually a bisexual Pride Day, which is September the 23rd. It's pretty amazing. There's a flag, and then there's lots of identities that come under the bisexual umbrella. So I just wanted to debunk some of those myths, because of all the letters, I think the B and the T have the most confusion around those identities. And so I wanted to make sure we talked about those. Yes. Did you have anything else?
No, that was it. I think we may have another question. Men who identify as female are playing female sports. How should boards of education manage this? This has become a trend. So, okay, Chase, so you're right in line. We're moving right on to talking about debunking myths about transgender people.
Yep.
So go ahead.
So I just wanted to verify the word transgender and what it means. So to be transgender means that the way you were born at birth, which we call your assigned sex, because it's what the doctor says you are based on your genitalia. So your assigned sex does not match with the way you feel in your head, who you are, your gender identity. So it's the gender.
What's your sex?
Not matching with your sex. So my biological sex is female, and I identify as a woman. So I'm actually cisgender, which is the opposite of transgender. But for a person who possibly was born male, doctors say, yay, it's a boy. They grew up and said, don't feel like a boy, I'm a girl. And that's who I am. They would be a trans woman or a trans girl.
Yes.
So thinking about that. So to answer the first question, so we have a friend that says, males who identify as females are playing female sports. How should the boards of education manage this? So there's lots of different stuff out there in terms of how the boards and all the different acronyms of sports what do you call it? I don't really know about sports, but they have rules for transgender people to play sports. Mm-hmm. And it is always about the hormone levels if they're taking any. So, for example, some trans women who are biologically born men won't be able to play a female sport if they're taking any type of hormones that change who they are internally, their hormones and chromosomes and things like that. So it's really about level of hormones if they're taking any, and then the school's policy as well. I know Kai alums, who is a really popular, he was a Georgetown University basketball player. He's a trans male, so that means he was biologically born female. He did play on, he kept playing on a female basketball team, and I can't remember, so I'm not going to quote if he ever played on the males, but he played on a female basketball team as a male after he came out. So it's lots of different ways that can go, and so that can get sticky and tricky, but there's so many laws and policies and things out there because there are so many trans athletes now who play on a team that aligns with their gender identity and not necessarily the way they were born at birth. So there are so many ways to handle it, and I don't want to start throwing things out, but it's out there, the policies and stuff, and so it's definitely happening. So can you explain gender fluid? Yes. So before we move on with some of this for trans people, gender fluid means not identifying. So your gender is usually a man or a woman, being transgender or anything in between. So being fluid is just like, think about, you have water in a cup, juice, fluid. So the ability to move back and forth at leisure and not be in one spot. So gender fluid means I don't really identify as a man. That doesn't feel good to me. And I don't really identify as a woman. That doesn't feel good to me either. And so maybe I might be what we call non-binary, or gender fluid, meaning I don't identify as the two binaries. And maybe I identify a little bit with being transgender, but that deals, the word transgender is dealing more with maybe a person that was born a girl and now knows that they're a boy. So that might not really resonate with me either. So I might be just gender fluid or non-binary or gender non-conforming. And I might actually like to use they pronouns, because being called a he or a she doesn't actually feel good to me either. Mm-hmm. So I would love to be called a they, them, or theirs. And that's for me, a singular person. Yes. So they are going to the store, right? Mm-hmm. I miss them, even though you're talking about a singular person. So it's a person who doesn't identify.
Yes. So just to paint a visual picture of that. So a person who's gender fluid could be a person who was born biologically as a male. And this particular person who is born as a male, and let's say he's old enough and he has a mustache, that because he's gender fluid, he may feel comfortable with wearing feminine clothes that day, a wig or different things of feminine clothing that day. Mm-hmm. But he may also feel very comfortable in wearing masculine clothes that day.
And just because he wears feminine clothes one day doesn't make him whatever a person wants him to be. So be trans, or you're a trans woman now. No, like I had many students that were very fluid, and some days they would wear skirts, and some days they would wear pants, and some days they would wear wigs, and their fluid was so, and their gender was very fluid. And it's definitely harder for people to understand. I get it, but this is what I always start and tell people is, if you don't identify that way or haven't have been exposed to it, it is going to be harder for you to understand. Definitely. Think about trying to learn math, right? You start with a problem, you're like, how am I supposed to do this? Right? I don't get it. Like, because you haven't been pre-exposed to it, you don't have any experience personally doing it, you need help learning how to execute the problem.
So don't assume anything.
Right.
Don't assume.
Right. Amazing.
Ask
all right.
Appropriate questions.
Appropriate questions. Never assume. And it is a lot. So don't try to get it all. It's a lot. And so the most important thing is to try to remember respect and love first before anything. People are human. So I think if we take it back to humanity, all these words will fit together if we just remember that people are human beings. So when talking about surgery, Is gender confirmation surgery a preferred term over gender reassignment surgery? I was talking about this the other day, and I used the term gender confirmation surgery, and I just wanted to make sure it's okay. Yes, thank you, Spesh. So the comment was about, what do you call it a surgery? So I'm going to talk about, let's just talk about it. So when we used to bring transgender speakers to campus, people, unfortunately, the first question is always, have you had the surgery? To a person you don't even know. So when you find out a person is transgender, I guess curiosity gets the best of us, and we want to ask some burning questions.
Yes.
What's in your pants? Totally inappropriate. Or have you had the surgery? Because that determines what's in your pants.
Yes.
So the surgery is now, some people love that it is called a gender confirmation surgery. That's definitely language that I think is being used and affirmed. If I believe I'm correct, and if I'm not, someone can correct me, but I was told it was just back in January. But you may have also heard it as a gender reassignment surgery. But I like gender confirmation because it's a surgery that's confirming. And just to debunk, there's not one surgery for a transgender person. And every transgender person does not even want to have surgery. Some people are fully okay with their parts being who they are, but knowing how they feel and saying that I'm a trans woman and I don't necessarily want to have a gender confirmation surgery to give me a penis one day. Exactly. Right? Or no, to take my penis away. I'm sorry. To remove my penis. So thinking about that. And so every transgender person does not want to have some type of surgery. That's number one. And there's not one surgery. There's a lot of things that go along with the transition of being trans. Yes. Everything from hormones to that gender confirmation surgery, to top surgery, to lots of other surgeries. Yes. And so if you meet a trans person, it's not your job to dissect their biological being. Exactly. It's your job to reaffirm them and to help support them in whatever context that is. This could be your coworker, this could be someone in your family, and they need much more from you than for you to try to figure out what surgeries they want, have, or what's in their pants.
Okay, so we're going a little long.
Yes.
Let's go to the next question.
So also, and I also just want to say, for trans people, another thing for you not to do is ask them what's their real name. Yes. Okay, so a real name is also referred to as a birth name, assigned name at birth, all of those things. But if you meet a trans person, what point does it, like, what sense does it make for you to need to know their birth name? Because all you need to know is the name that they prefer to be called today. Is gender fluid the same as asexual? No. So I'll just say quickly, being asexual is not having sexual attraction to people. So that means I don't see you and lust and want to have sex, but I can have romantic and emotional relationships with you. Gender is about your gender, being a man or a woman. Asexual is about sexual orientation, who you love. So sexual orientation is something that's inside of us. Think about your heart, and you can't see it, right? Gender is in your head. Two separate different things. Okay. So we know that cis means being like me, born female and identifying as a woman. And okay, some people say it's a little lot. Okay, so we're just going to answer. Okay, so we're just going to answer a couple other myths for trans folks. So just to be considerate, like asking when did you decide to be transgender is inappropriate as well, because that's not useful for you to help someone. Actual kids between the age of 3 and 5 can know that their gender doesn't align with what their assigned gender is. So although I'm 5 years old, I can tell you that I feel like this, even though you're saying I'm this. And there's lots of different videos and different things that I would like to share with you all so that you can see it actually happening in live. And then also asking trans people how they have sex is inappropriate, regardless of who they are. Remembering that trans people's sexual orientation is based on their gender. So sometimes if a person is a trans man, they date women, they identify as straight. And sometimes their transness is so much in there that they might identify as queer, but that's totally up to them, and neither does that matter, right? So thinking about what matters. And then lastly, for trans people, even if a family member, this is more with a family member, if they come out to you and you be like, you'll always be blank, using their birth name. So like, I'll never see you as what you want to be called. You'll always be this to me. It's probably one of the most traumatic and devastating things you can say to a person. What you want to do is help them. And if you're not in a position to help or affirm them, you want to take a step back, but not say anything that could be detrimental to them, because we know the statistics for our community in terms of suicide or attempted suicide is high, really high. Yes. And the most thing is because of lack of support and being ostracized from families and not having allies there on our side.
So even with that, just to add on to that, you know, and it's sad to admit, a lot in the Black community, it's, you know, the acceptance is a lot harder. And it's like, you know, would you rather have a dead sister, or a dead sister, brother, a dead son or daughter, or a live one who's gay? Mm-hmm. You know, so it's like you have to really think about these things and think about your feelings, think about their feelings, not just your feelings and your understanding of how you think they are feeling. Yeah. So even though you may not agree, you may not totally understand it, you know, putting a line in the sand saying, I'll never accept you as this person, or I'll never accept or call you a different name for a transgender person is a very offensive and hurtful. And a person doesn't know that you could push this person to the next level of committing suicide, becoming depressed. Anything could happen just because you're expressing how you feel and you're not taking in consideration how this person may be struggling internally with how they feel.
Yeah. So we're going to answer the last question and we're going to end because we try not to go over the 45 minutes. Zakia wanted to know if the term cisgender could be considered inappropriate or boundaries around the term, and absolutely not. Actually, the word cisgender came from this thought that being transgender was not normal, so that we were normal if we were not trans, and then trans folks were not normal. So to take away the stigma wrapped around transgender people not being normal, it was coined the word cisgender. Cis is Latin and it means same. The prefix cis, C-I-S, add gender to it. So when trans people talk, or when trans people write books, if you ever read a book, Redefining Realness by Janet Mock is a bomb book. Check her out, right? She talks about us, people whose sex and gender align, as cis folks. So cisgender is definitely a good term to use, and it's okay to identify as cisgender as long as you're using it in a way that affirms your privilege and uses it for power. Yes. So I know I have cisgender privilege because I can walk into a restroom and not be policed and not be asked if I'm in the right place, right? People don't ever like stutter to call me ma'am or his or her. And so those are types of privilege I have because I'm cis, and I use that in a way to help others understand it. If people walk up and they don't look like me, don't be afraid to use they. Don't be afraid. And if you walk in the bathroom and you assume that someone is not supposed to be in here, just think to yourself, they walked in here. So if they walked in here, they're in the right place. So that's all. But it's a lot to unpack, y'all. So thank you all so much for your comments. Keep them coming. If you follow any of our live videos, we answer comments far after our live video is over. We'll upload to YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, our page on Facebook. Please like us, love us, share this message. We wholeheartedly believe that if we share our lives outwardly and openly and inspire and encourage others to do the same. And we know we can save lives. And we're here for y'all. If y'all have any questions, you know how to reach us. And we hope y'all having a phenomenal week. And yes, Sundays at 8 will work for our busy lives now. So we'll see you next Sunday at 8 p.m. Be here.
All right. Thank you. Have a great evening.